Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer says Labour will put creating quality jobs at the heart of their energy plans. Jonathan is the Shadow Secretary of State for Work and Pensions. So, Jonathan, I think you'd probably be quite proud in saying red is going green.
Well, what Keir Starmer is outlining today is a plan to rebuild our economy, to make our economy more productive and therefore more prosperous, and to create hundreds of thousands of jobs across the country in these new renewable energy sources. It's good for jobs, but it will also bring down energy bills for every household, which of course will help us tame inflation as well.
And of course, he's going to have a difficult time at the GMB Congress today, persuading them that he's got jobs at the centre of his thoughts in all of this, because just over the last few days, GMB and Unite Unions have both described his net zero plans as naive, particularly with concern about those already existing jobs in the North Sea, where oil is being dredged and drilled for.
Well, we will continue with that drilling in the North Sea for decades to come. So it's important that people who work in those industries know that. But of course, that basin in the North Sea is diminishing. It will come to an end by around 2050. So the question is, how do you transition to a better future? Now, there are 29,000 jobs in that basin. But by transitioning to green energy sources, to renewables, onshore, offshore, solar, tidal, you can actually create hundreds of thousands of good, well-paid, skilled, unionised jobs across the country and bring down bills for every household. So that is what we are proposing. But the North Sea, gas and oil will continue to be part of the mix for decades to come.
Behind all of these plans, which we believe are being drawn up largely by Ed Miliband, this £28 billion net zero plan, because Treasury analysis now shows that every household in the UK will be paying £1,000 a year if Labour gets into government and goes ahead with these plans. It's going to cost a fortune.
Well, frankly, I won't take any lessons from the Treasury when the Conservatives run our economy off a cliff last autumn. It led to turmoil on the money markets, a run on pension funds, and people paying hundreds of pounds more on their mortgages as a consequence of decisions taken by this Conservative government. Actually, by investing in this transition to renewables and solar, we'll actually bring down energy bills, create jobs and grow our economy. And if we can grow our economy, it means we can be more prosperous as a country. And that also means we can fund the things that we want to do, like our NHS, our schools and so on. So this is good for the economy, it's a good way to help tame inflation, and it's a good way to create jobs.
Jonathan, last Thursday actually, I found myself accidentally in the middle of Britain's biggest onshore wind farm. It's a place called Whiteley, and it's just outside Glasgow, and it is absolutely incredible. 217 windmills there, which was an awesome sight. Whether people will say whether they work or whether they don't work or whether they need to be in that numbers is one thing, but just it was amazing. I thought I was looking at a glimpse of the future. Have you ever been there? Have you ever seen it?
I haven't been to Glasgow to see that site, but now you mention it, perhaps it's something I'll try my best to get to. I mean, I've seen onshore wind. I'm an MP in the East Midlands, and up in Nottinghamshire via Mansfield, near a place called Blidworth, or Bliduff if you're local. Some of your viewers might know the former pit village. There is an onshore wind site there, which I've always thought is very impressive. But it's not just onshore wind. You've got to do offshore wind, you've got to do solar, you've got to do tidal. Nuclear and hydrogen needs to be part of this mix as well. So you need a mix of energy sources, and if you move to this, you wean yourself off the fossil fuels, which means you can bring inflation down and you can create hundreds of thousands of really good, well-paid jobs.
The point I was making is that with all things, people are frightened, they're timid about change, and I suppose it's how they see change or where they see change. Well, basically, I found myself up a mountain, basically, and there was no grass growing, there were no sheep there was nothing, but there were 217 wind turbines doing, in my view, no one any harm and creating a lot of good. So it's not so much what we introduce, it's how we introduce it.
You've absolutely hit the nail on the head, because gas and oil It has got decades to go, and we will continue it for the decades that it's got to go in the North Sea, but that basin in the North Sea is diminishing. So when you know an energy source is diminishing, what is the transition? Lots of your viewers would have worked down the pits, would have worked in the coal mines in Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, South Yorkshire, and when those pits came to an end in the 80s and 90s, what was put in their place? Nothing by the Conservatives, and many people not only lost their jobs, they were actually signed off on the sick for the rest of their lives, because that was the way in which they were to get some money, right? We're not going to allow that. We're not going to leave workers in the lurch. We're going to invest in the energies of the future and create really good, well-paid jobs for the future.
Well, listen, speaking of the way things are introduced, Sue Gray has been cleared to join the Labour Party. There were lots of questions about those talks with Sir Keir Starmer while she was still investigating Partygate. How much of a win is that for you guys?
Well, look, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to, accept your invitation to comment, because there's a proper process. I know it's in the paper today, but I've got, until the proper processes are announced and gone through, it's just speculation.